Hey everyone, my name is Dillon. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. Welcome back. We have another wonderful show for you this week, diving into anything and everything physical media. We have great releases from Warner Brothers, Lionsgate, Sony, so many titles that I'm excited to dig into. So I'll do just that with one of the bigger releases of the summer. This is from Warner Brothers. It is the 4K debut of Superman 2025, James Gunn's Superman, with this really cool lenticular cover. So over the past few years, I haven't been able to make it to the theaters pretty much at all. But a movie that did get me back to the theaters, mostly because my wife became obsessed with Superman this summer, was James Gunn's Superman. So this is one of the rare times where I can kind of compare the theatrical experience to the home entertainment experience from more recent titles. But I had a lot of fun in theaters with Superman and revisiting it on disc. He's one of the most famous comic book characters of all time. But in this iteration specifically, this isn't exactly an origin story. Superman has already been Superman for several years, fighting crime and everything. This is a really good reboot of the franchise compared to where we were with the Snyderverse Superman. I think that Gunn did as well as he could, kind of starting fresh, but kind of leaning into what audiences already know about the character, while also trying to build a whole new DC path moving forward. That is one of the weaknesses of the movie, is it does feel a little bit overstuffed with characters and setting up kind of events for future movies. But overall, I think there's a nice balance with a pretty good focus on Superman. Maybe if there had been a little bit more between character building moments with Lois and Clark, that would have been even better for me personally. But overall, I like how things were executed. The humor wasn't overdone compared to some of what Gunn has done in the past. And I think these characters are suited very well for these roles. So Superman as a movie, I think is a win. As a 4K disc, I also think it's pretty great. I know I've seen some early rumblings online about how this particular title, which is in Dolby Vision with Dolby Atmos audio, may not be fully taking advantage of the 4K presentation in terms of the nits used. I'm going kind of into the weeds of technical stuff, but basically a lot of people are saying this isn't as bright as it should be compared to what I saw in theaters, and just looking at it on disc. I don't think this is an overly dim presentation. It may be closer to kind of like a SDR and an HDR container type situation, but this does look pretty great, and I have no qualms with the brightness. I don't think this was intended to be eye-searingly bright, and colors that are supposed to be vibrant are vibrant. But if you are someone who are really going into the analytics and doing graphs and everything like that, you may find shortcomings with this presentation. But I think the modern person who's just watching this just more casually and just wants to see a beautiful looking picture with great crisp detail and no banding and no blown highlights, just an ideal home entertainment presentation. Superman, I think the 4K presentation does just that. And along with the Dolby Atmos track, which is fierce, it has a lot of deep low end impact with a lot of the many battles in this and explosions. Those really hit hard. So audiovisual wise, I have no complaints on that front. Special features wise, there are some good special features on the disc. Most notably, very pleased to see an hour-long making of documentary on this, and I really enjoyed that. There's several. There's 9 other featurettes on this disc that are much shorter, usually about 5 to 10 minutes long. But those also add some additional context to the movie, which I appreciate. One thing I don't like, and it is something that Warner has done in the past, you will note that this does come with a digital code here. If you really care about special features, you will want to redeem that digital code, because as of this time, there are special features that are exclusive to the digital presentation that are not on this physical disc. Namely, a audio commentary from James Gunn. I believe there's also some deleted scenes. I know when the press release came out and I was looking at stuff, it did seem to be indicating that even if there were not certain special features that debuted at that time, whenever the digital was released, that they would be adding some special features as they got created, or like the audio commentary recorded with James Gunn. So if they're not there now, they'll probably be there in the next few weeks. I haven't confirmed myself. But I really hate that you have to go digital in order to watch these special features. I think they should be on this disc. A similar thing happened to Barbie and its audio commentary with Greta Gerwig. It is my hope with that title and Superman that there is an eventual re-release with fully stacked special features, everything on the disc and everything. But if you care about listening to that right now, make sure to redeem your digital copy so you can listen to that. Other than that, like kind of nitpick about where the special features can be located, I think this is a pretty amazing presentation for a film that is a solid kickoff to the new DC universe. I was very, very hesitant about this going in. I didn't think this I think they needed to let DC rest a little bit more before rebooting it, but I did find myself, when I actually watched this, having a really great time, and I think this is a really, really solid Superman movie. So if you haven't watched it yet, give it a chance. David Cornsweet is a great Superman, and this is a fun movie. So Superman on 4K, it is a good time. Also from Warner Brothers, a little bit older, about 20 years older, is the 4K debut of Tim Burton's The Corpse Bride. Now, yes, Burton is only a co-director, but technically the movie's title is Tim Burton's The Corpse Bride. But that's no disrespect for the other director. So this is a stop motion movie about a guy who is about to get married. He is out in the woods practicing his vows. He puts a ring on what he believes is a branch while reciting his vows, and he ends up, unbeknownst to him, being betrothed to a corpse bride. So it is this woman's hand sticking out of the ground, and he is kind of trying to get out of this whole weird situation and get back to the woman he's supposed to marry, all while learning about all the intricacies of the underworld and all that kind of stuff, like of the afterlife that is. And it has that kind of Nightmare Before Christmas type fun to it. There are people in the afterlife who have very unique character designs, and just all the characters are very amusing, and there are musical numbers, and it's just a really a feast for the senses of just like all the fun tunes and the designs, and just everything looks and sounds amazing in this kind of what is a dour universe in like kind of the human world, and a very vibrant world in kind of the afterlife. And while it might not reach the highs of Nightmare Before Christmas, I do think Corpse Bride is a really, really great stop motion animation movie with great vocal performances, including Helena Bonham Carter, Emily Mortimer. You have Johnny Depp, and a lot of really good people in here. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. The first time I saw it was at the drive-in back when it was in theaters, and I've seen it a couple times since then. But I had seen it on Blu-ray previously, and while that presentation was really great for the time, it was from an ancient codec. And it's like from like 2006, I think it was. So it was due for a refresh, and this new 4K restoration in HDR10 really does the trick. It really kind of nails the color palette that this film should have compared to the old Blu-ray look. It's a little bit more distinct and dialed into what is intended by the creative team. This is technically a upscale from a 2K source. But if you've watched my videos for any amount of time, you'll know that I am not averse to a good upscale from a 2K source, because it can still unlock a lot of intricacy within the image, especially if it was from like an ancient codec, in regards to like the application of HDR that can really enhance things. So alleviating some compression and like dialing in things to how they're supposed to look can really help even a 2K source. And stop motion animation looks fantastic in 4K. So I really like how this looks detail-wise, color-wise as well at the HDR10. No Dolby Vision, unfortunately, but the HDR10 looks great. New Dolby Atmos track also sounds really good, with a lot of these songs really filling the room. You get, I believe, all the archival special features, or nearly all of them. There are about 8 archival special features, and then 2 new featurettes as well that kind of reflect back on the legacy of this movie, which is pretty fun. So if you're a fan of Tim Burton, The Corpse Bride, definitely a really good one from him and his co-director. It's short and sweet. It's like under 80 minutes long, but it really packs a punch, and it really got me in the mood for spooky season, which you can see I'm kind of dressed up for. This really got me in that mood, so really glad to have this on 4K. It's a really nice upgrade from that old Blu-ray source. Next up from Warner Brothers, we're going to the television side, and it is the 2nd season of HBO's The Last of Us. This is the Steelbook version of the season, which I'll show up here. And this is a continuation of their breakout hit video game adaptation with Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. I really loved the first season whenever it came out. It's been a couple years since I had watched that to review the first season. But jumping back into the 2nd season, it is certainly not as good as the first season by any stretch of the imagination. But I think that this season got a lot of unwarranted hate. Yes, it is slower, and some of the creative choices are disappointing. I won't spoil anything for anyone. I know that it got spoiled for me when it was airing, so I was a little bit more prepared for certain developments, but the way this season kind of evolves and how the perspective of the series all similarly evolves, I understand why a lot of fans were very upset by certain developments. But I think, despite how certain things turn out, I think there are a lot of strong aspects to this series. The season starts really strongly. There's a really big conflict near the beginning of this season that really was thrilling and had like some of the best action of the series to this point. The second half of the season, it does slow down a little bit. I think some of the character arcs and everything can be a little disappointing, but overall there are more things I like about it than I don't. So overall, I think it is a decent season. It's just the first season was so good and set up such expectations that I don't think this season could quite reach that, especially whenever it has to follow certain things from the video game and how that eventually plays out. And I think a lot of the hate for this season, I saw a lot of kind of more hateful content regarding like bigoted kind of perspectives that aren't they're not healthy and they're not valid in terms of the creative side of things. So I don't want to see that kind of constructive criticism is good, but just outright hate speech, I don't like that. So overall, very controversial season, but if you're still on board for this show, this second season presentation on 4K is fantastic. As you see, I was glad not to have stacked disc on here. So you get 7 episodes across 3 discs, all in Dolby Vision with Dolby Atmos audio. All these look terrific and they sound amazing as well. Some of those conflicts I was talking about especially thrive with Dolby Atmos, and it's seeming all encompassing and enveloping, and it's very unsettling whenever you're facing certain adversaries and you just like feel like you are trapped. You do get a making of featurette and deep dive into each episode. Tons and tons of behind the scenes featurettes for this season. So they really good number of special features and a great audio visual presentation. So if you're a fan of the series, it's been treated well on 4K. You can get the steelbook version, or there's a standard version as well. But overall, I still recommend The Last of Us. It's seen better days, but overall it's still a good season in my opinion, and still worth checking out. Next up, we go over to Lionsgate Limited and their newest release. It is their 15th anniversary release of Daybreakers on 4K. Another lenticular cover, which is pretty cool. So this is a title similar to their Kick-Ass release from a few months ago, which has been previously released on 4K. Unlike the Kick-Ass release, which I covered, I do not have the previous version of this 4K to compare. I know that release was kind of notorious, but I'll get into that here in a second. But Daybreakers, pretty cool vampire flick. I saw it for the first time a couple of years ago, and I was a little bit mixed on it, but I think just at the time I wasn't giving it my full attention maybe. And watching it again, I did have more fun with it. I think it's cool, this concept of a society and where vampires have almost exclusively taken over, and there's very few humans left, and they're getting to the point where the blood supply, like the natural human blood supply, is almost out, and it is really starting to impact the vampires. And there are still some people trying to develop synthetic blood, but then there's also the potential of maybe a cure on the horizon, thanks to our Willem Dafoe character. So Ethan Hawke is plays this scientist who is trying to develop this synthetic blood. And Sam Neill is the kind of evil corporation guy who will, of course, try to do whatever benefits him and his pocketbook the most. So overall, there's some pretty good thrills, some nice action sequences, some twists and turns and everything that I won't ruin. But overall, a very solid vampire flick. Not the best one I've ever seen, but definitely enjoyable. And I had a better time with this than the first time I watched it with this new viewing. But in terms of this 4K release, as I mentioned, there was a 2019 4K from Lionsgate, which people believed was probably from a film out element. And while the HDR seemed to be the main benefit, there seemed to be a lack of discrete detail that may have not been as much of a factor if they had come directly from a digital intermediate. I mostly just seen a lot of negative comments about that initial 4K release. So I was wondering how this new 4K would end up. And I know that there was a release in recent months overseas from Umbrella, which claimed to be trying to go back to the source at least a little bit and correct things in terms of maybe some of the encoding and some minor things here and there. But I still think they are kind of limited by the source, which probably is that film out element. But the initial claims from some of the people who have gotten that Umbrella release is that it's better in some regards. Other people kind of debate that. I do not have that at myself. This is my only release that I've seen, besides a streaming version, which that's no contest. This is better. So I would assume, I'm not sure, because this release shares a lot of the special features from that Umbrella release, that they probably used the same kind of more cleaned up source, theoretically, that Umbrella used. Like I said, I do not own any version of this. I can just say that I can see where some of the complaints come from the original Lionsgate disc. in terms of this probably being a film out and maybe the detail not being as sharp as one may want. But overall, I do think it is a pleasing presentation. Definitely not the strongest 4K presentation by any stretch of the imagination. But in terms of what this film can deliver, I think they've done the best they can with it. I think the biggest benefit to this is the Dolby Vision presentation in terms of having deep black levels and some of the bright highlights not being clipped. And this isn't a visual thing, but the Dolby Atmos presentation really hits hard, and I think it's a really, really nice upgrade in terms of being immersive and like really being impactful with the low end and everything. There are definitely much, much better looking Lionsgate 4K releases, but in terms of what I think this can look like, I think they've done the best that they can. There is some discrete detail, but it has a somewhat soft appearance overall. But overall, I think it is a good, not great presentation. And I am not sure if it is different from the original 4K release from Lionsgate. I would imagine so based on what I'm seeing and how I'm not that bothered by it. But if you told me that this is the exact same presentation as that notorious Lionsgate release from 2019, I would trust you, and I would say like I am not as bothered by it as other people. But this Lionsgate release, beyond having potentially a better video presentation, I think a lot of the selling point would be the new special features in addition to this nice lenticular case. So as I mentioned, they do have the it has all the archival special features from the previous disc and some of the new umbrella and other new special features. So you have a commentary track, making of, a short film, tons and tons of featurettes, and just like with like gag reel, tests from the art department. You have costume tests, all kinds of stuff in here, makeup tapes. If you are a fan of this movie, and especially if you want all the special features, but you don't want to import the umbrella release, this release from Lionsgate Limited, it's very much solid. It is only available at lionsgatelimited.com, so that is part of the deal with the Lionsgate Limited line. But make sure to check it out from them if you are interested in this one and this new 4K disc. And it does only come with a 4K disc, as I showed you in there. So be sure you're 4K capable if you're looking to get this one. Daybreakers from Lionsgate Limited on 4K. Staying somewhat in the horror space, but more of a genre shift for this, what started out as a horror franchise. It's from Universal. It's the debut of Megan 2.0 on 4K Ultra HD. Back whenever I was a part of the Video Addict, and we covered Megan, I wasn't as big of a fan of the first movie as some people were. There were elements I thought were pretty good, but overall, it just wasn't as much for me. I mean, I can't say that Megan 2.0 completely won me over, because while that one was more of like kind of a more high-tech Chucky adjacent ripoff of like AI doll going bad, this is kind of like what's been described as the Terminator 2 of the Megan universe, in which Megan comes back, but this time she's trying to save the family from a different AI robot, and they're trying to decide if they can trust Megan and that she can be rehabilitated and all this stuff. So it actually turns into more of like a sci-fi action movie. Not really many thrills at all to be like gained from this, but there are some like action-y thrills going on. But overall, it was fine, but this franchise just isn't super for me. It's like watchable. I'm not mad that I watched it, but none of these movies really kind of stand out as like, oh my god, these are my new favorite horror or sci-fi movies or anything. It's just like a time waster that I don't really think about much once I really finished it up. But there's at least one moment in this that made me laugh out loud, which I do have to give it points for, and that involves a musical cue that is used by Megan in an emotional, like a manipulative moment. But that made me laugh a lot. But otherwise, a little bit of a mixed bag. This does have an unrated version, which seems to be like within like a minute or so of the original runtime. I can only guess as to what the unrated version is, which is maybe just a little bit more gore at one point, but not much is different. So don't expect like a complete overhaul of this movie if you're looking to, like, if you saw the theatrical cut and you were disappointed, the unrated cut, I don't think it's going to do it for you. But this is presented in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos audio. Looks really, really great in Dolby Vision. No complaints. It's a slick movie. Nice colors, deep black levels. Everything looks crisp and clear and nice. Atmos is very effective and like encompassing. There are some times where like the characters are like flying through the air, and that's really helpful with the overhead channels. Like I say, you do get both the theatrical and unrated cuts that's available via seamless branching. You do get a couple of featurettes that dig into things on more of a surface level. So overall, if you've seen the movie and you like Megan 2.0, this is a very good presentation. But if you're a horror fan looking to continue the series, be warned that it's not really a horror movie. And it's just not amazing. It's just fine. So Megan 2.0 from Universal, only get it if you know you already really like it, in my opinion. Another new release we have from our friends at A20. We have one that I was very, very excited about. It is Celine Song's sophomore effort, Materialist, with Chris Evans, once again Pedro Pascal, and Dakota Johnson. So in this film, Dakota Johnson plays a matchmaker who has to decide if she is going to listen to her instincts and kind of more cold hard facts of just what makes sense on paper, or she's going to listen to her heart and maybe go with someone who may not be as financially advantageous, but may kind of respond to her more like emotionally, and whether like what is a good deal for someone who is like in the dating game. So this takes a really interesting look at romance and relationships and like what people can get out of them in terms of like love or feeling valued, all that kind of stuff. Whenever I kind of heard about this movie, I thought it might be more like 90s rom-com. And there are aspects of that, but I think it does take things a little bit more seriously in terms of kind of some of the exploration of some of these themes and how it views relationships. But I think it works very well, and that kind of works within Celine Song's kind of wheelhouse as like the director of Past Lives, which was also a pretty great movie. Overall, I'm pretty positive about this. My only complaints would be that I wish there was a little bit more time to develop the actual relationship between Dakota Johnson and these two potential suitors of her. Because anytime any development happens on either front, I feel like I don't really have a really strong connection between her and these guys. And I wish there was just a little bit more work put towards developing those, even though moments do land. I think they just could have landed a little bit more. And some of the drama happening away from the romance aspects, I think it's handled very well, and it's kind of there's some surprising twists and turns for this kind of movie, but I think it's handled very sensitively, and it is quite interesting. So overall, Materialist, I think, is a good movie and worth checking out if you're more into kind of romance drama comedies. This is Blu-ray from A24. There's no 4K version, but it does have a Dolby Atmos track. Looks really good and sounds nice with the Dolby Atmos track. It's not the most bombastic track because it is just more of a talky dramedy, but overall it does sound immersive, especially whenever you're in like downtown New York and you can kind of hear the sounds of the city and everything. Do get a commentary track from Celine Song, you get a making of featurette, and you get an interview with the composer. And so overall, happy with this Materialist Blu-ray. Worth checking out if you're a fan of Celine Song or romantic dramedies. Definitely one of the better movies I've seen this year, and really glad to finally be able to check it out. One of my biggest titles of the week is without a doubt from Disney and 20th Century Studios, is their 4K debut of The Sound of Music for its 60th anniversary. The great Julie Andrews as Maria, the governess of the Von Trapp children, where she starts to find her way and all that kind of good. It's a musical classic. It's one I saw for the first time probably 5 years ago, I believe. And I had always heard about it pretty much as long as I can remember back, about The Sound of Music. And yes, there are some times where I kind of see older acclaimed movies for the first time, and I'm like, okay, it's good, but like I more appreciate it more than love it, and it kind of it takes a little bit to grow on me. But for The Sound of Music, I loved it from the first time that I watched it, and I really felt a deeper love for this movie. It is one of the best musicals I've ever seen, and it is recognized as a classic for a reason. Before I get into it a little bit more, I'm just gonna say this is a 3-disc set, and how it ships is the 4K disc over here, which just 4K disc here, is over top of the Blu-ray disc when it ships. I do not want anything rubbing against the bottom of my 4K disc, so I made sure to put over and on top of the special features disc, which holds, there's this hub has 2 discs on it. So the Blu-ray of the movie and then a special features disc. Because the Blu-ray discs are a little bit more scratch resistant, and the 4K disc is definitely the one that I want to make sure does not get anything wrong with it. So if you are like me, make sure to kind of protect your 4K disc at all costs. I may actually probably be switching this out to like a more like a flip case or something if I can find a case that can replace it, because I hate stacked disc. But just know how this comes and how you should protect your disc if at all possible. So this is 3 disc. It's been newly restored by Disney and 20th Century Studios, and the restoration, it looks magnificent. It looks really, really good. In Dolby Vision with the Dolby Atmos audio track. The audio track has likewise been restored with the best elements. This is such a vibrant, lush presentation. You will not find any nicks or scratches or anything. Everything holds together very well. Everything's very consistent. You won't have any clipped highlights. You won't have any black crush. There's so much detail to be found. There is a change for the better in terms of the colors, and like what you can see it from the opening scenes alone, with Maria out in the hills and open fields. There was the original Fox Blu-ray, had kind of like a bluish tint that opened the movie. That is no longer the case here. It's just a nice, vibrant, bright movie in their best way. And from what I can tell, I did several like taking out the disc, changing out, going back and forth as much as possible. I do believe, I know that these new Blu-ray discs are new disc in general, but they do also seem to be from the new restoration. So I believe that even if you do own these on Blu-ray previously, that the new Blu-rays would be an upgrade for you in terms of the restoration, because the biggest telltale sign for me is that blue shimmering in the opening scene, right when the credits start, or right when the Fox logo fades out and it gets into the movie. It does not seem to be on this new Blu-ray disc, so that would lead me to believe that this is from the new 4K restoration on the Blu-ray disc. If you find otherwise, please let me know, but from what I can tell, this does seem to be the new 4K restoration on the Blu-ray disc as well. So Dolby Vision looks great. Dolby Atmos sounds great. You get 2 commentary tracks. You get a sing-along version. You get several documentaries that dive deep into this, like over hour-long documentaries. You get lots and lots of featurettes, more than you know what to do with. Just so much digging into this that if you're a fan, you'll be very, very pleased. I think there might just be a couple of featurettes that have been left off that maybe pertain to previous restorations and stuff. From what I can tell, I also have a very deluxe, like kind of, I think it's called like the Favorite Things Collector's Edition. It's like a huge box. It's like this big from the Blu-ray that has like the soundtrack and stuff. That's not been carried over, so I'll still keep that. But in terms of just like the movie with the special features, you really couldn't ask for more, in my opinion. This is a really, really wonderful release from Disney for The Sound of Music, one of the all-time great musicals, and it's how you hope that your favorite movie will be treated. So this has been a really, really great time revisiting this one, and I think fans will be more than pleased with its presentation. And speaking of 4K upgrades, we have another great one, this time from Sony, one of our favorite labels for 4K upgrades. It is their release of the Western classic Silverado. So this, without the J card, looks like this. The amazing theatrical cover art. Here's the back here. Back of the J card here, you can see. Take that off. Really cool movie that I hadn't seen in quite a while, since I had like this really big DVD set back in the day, which had like playing cards and everything. And I never upgraded this to Blu-ray. And now I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because just this jump to 4K is so amazing. This movie with Kevin Kline, Scott Glenn, Kevin Costner, Danny Glover, and more. It's a lot of fun. A bunch of guys coming together to defeat some ne'er-do-wells in the town of Silverado. You have a very hyperactive Kevin Costner swinging from things all the time. You have figures trying to do their best and stay out of trouble, but trouble keeps finding them. And it's a great, fun Western tale. It's more on like kind of the lighthearted kind of comedic side instead of like the stone cold serious side. But that's what makes it a lot of like a really easy watch, and really one that's good to return to on very frequently. So this movie's a lot of fun, and it's been given a really good 4K restoration from the original camera negative. This has presented in Dolby Vision, and this 4K restoration is nearly flawless. No nick scratches, any blown highlights, no black crush. So much detail to be unlocked, especially compared to the Blu-ray. And just such a really lovely presentation. It's what you want from Sony. They always do a really nice job, and I was very, very pleased. And since this is Sony, unlike, I know some people might be disappointed that The Sound of Music didn't have the original audio tracks. They just had the new Atmos track, which does sound great. But this Silverado has an Atmos track for those who want a more expansive, like more future forward presentation. But you also have a 5.1 track and a 2.0 track. So rather, if you want artistic purity, you can stay more towards the 2.0 side. If you want something more testing the boundaries of your sound system, you can go for the Atmos track. But you have options, which is always what is important to me. You also get a commentary track, you get some featurettes, and you get a trailer. So not loaded with new special features or anything, but overall, very, very solid release. And AV wise, you can't be beat. So Silverado, if you're a fan of this, definitely check it out. Sony's done a really nice job. Surprise, surprise. Sticking in kind of that general theme, not a strict Western, but definitely more rural leaning, is a television series from Lionsgate. And that is Little House on the Prairie, the complete series. Now, this is a show that I never envisioned myself watching, because when I was a kid and I would see Little House on the Prairie come on, it was an instant, like, give me the remote as quickly as possible. I need to get this off of my screen. I am not interested in this. Yet here I am with this Blu-ray release, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it got me. It got me. This whole saga of the Ingalls and their life out on the prairie, like trying to just survive and like have community and love each other and everything. It got me. Like the pilot presentation, which is like a feature length long, it was good. I enjoyed and the second episode, yeah, that's solid as well. When we got to like the third episode, or it might be called like episode 2 after the pilot, whenever you have Laura reading reading a kind of an essay, which she's not really reading, but that's beside the point, about her mom and how much her mom kind of sacrifices and everything, and you see her mom in the audience crying and stuff, like getting emotional. I found myself getting choked up, so like it got me, and I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm in for this series now. So I I'm shocked the hell out of me that I'm gonna be going through the complete Little House on the Prairie. For the purposes of this review, I have spot checked like all the seasons to see how it holds up, but I am only human, so I have not watched all 200 episodes of this series over the 9 seasons plus the TV movies and stuff. I'm sorry. I'm only human, and I have another big set I'm going to talk about as well. But what I watched, I had a lot of fun getting to know this family and just being in this kind of general environment. And so I understand why it's been so beloved. And these seasons have been released on Blu-ray previously. It is my understanding that the last 3 seasons, 7 through 9, were sold out pretty quickly after its release, and they were going for really high dollar prices on eBay. So it's good to see these back in print. And we can have all 9 seasons in one package. These have been remastered. I don't think they've been remastered since the last time they've been released on Blu-ray, but in general they've been remastered, and they look really, really great. Very pleased with how these look. Maybe minor things here and there that aren't perfect, but when you're dealing with a 200 episode series, you can be pretty pleased with the consistency across these episodes. That I think there may be a few things that have like maybe been unintentionally edited, but I think it's just maybe a couple of episodes from what I can tell. I'm not as familiar with the show as others, but I tried to like kind of locate things and but I couldn't get a definitive answer on certain kind of editing kind of questions. But you do have the original pilot movie presented as a movie and not edited into 2 episodes. And one thing is, these are not the exact same disc as this original seasons 7 through 9, because I believe that release had lossy Dolby Digital 2.0 audio. This 7 through 9 has been changed to a lossless DTS 2.0 audio, so that's an upgrade as well. So you have all 200 episodes, 5 specials. You get a multi-part documentary on kind of the phenomena of Little House on the Prairie. You get some screen tests. Overall, I think if you're a fan of the series, you'll be pretty pleased by how this looks. I wish it wasn't DVD size packaging. I wish it was Blu-ray, but that's a minor nitpick. Overall, it's a new series that I'm like excited to watch every episode of. Very surprised to hear myself say that, but it's a good show, and this is a really nice presentation on Blu-ray from Lionsgate. Worth checking out to have all these in one package for not as exorbitant prices as eBay was asking for just a couple of seasons. Next up, we go to a catalog title from Sony and their Sony Pictures Classics line. This is the Blu-ray of This Is My Father. This is a pretty enjoyable drama in which James Caan plays a man who returns to Ireland after discovering a picture that's been hidden, where he aims to go to Ireland to figure out what happened to his father that he never knew, and really get some details about his mother that he never knew, who's like kind of like starting to have dementia and everything. So most of this movie is a flashback in which Aidan Quinn plays his father, and you get to see kind of his romance with this girl, and kind of it's kind of like a forbidden love, and because there's kind of situations like class divides and all kinds of stuff going on. There's a lot of really unfortunate developments and melodrama and everything that keeps these two apart or creates drama. But overall, I found it pretty entertaining and emotional, and it just makes you really hate kind of like puritanical beliefs and just how certain like kind of societal norms, which have evolved in some ways and not evolved in others that are in a pretty sad way, have really like kind of ruined a lot of people's lives. And it's just, it can be a lot. It's frustrating, but overall, I think this is a good movie. It does seem to have been remastered in some sort, and at some time it's not listed as that, but it's a really nice HD transfer. Clear, nice detail, no compression artifacts, like no major compression artifacts. Everything looks pretty nice. Really nice audio track, DTS 5.1 audio track. You get a commentary track with director Paul Quinn and actor Aidan Quinn. Solid release from Sony for This Is My Father. A nice drama that's probably been forgotten, but if you're a fan of any of these performers, other people that I didn't mention include Brendan Gleeson, Cole Meany, John Cusack has a small role in this, Stephen Ray. Worth checking out if you like kind of like a period drama. It's pretty decent. Another from Sony Pictures Classics is their Brazilian film, The House of Sand, and I believe this is definitely being released due to the success of I'm Still Here, which starred Fernanda Torres, which got a Best Picture and her a Best Actress nomination this past year, and then her mom Fernanda Montenegro, she is also in that movie, but in a much smaller role. This is from about 20 years ago, and it involves a family who moves to kind of more of a remote, kind of like deserty village in hopes of settling down. The woman of this man who is determined to move here, she doesn't really want to be there, but she travels there with her mother. This is not a big spoiler. Her husband ends up dying, and she is kind of stranded there and unable to find a way to really get out of the desert. So she finds herself starting a life there in kind of this House of Sand, and kind of relying on some of the indigenous locals to kind of keep her like surviving and like learning how to kind of work what she has, and then raising her own daughter while interacting with her mother and all kinds of stuff. And it's really about the kind of the cycles of time, how we are sometimes trapped in certain situations, and what we're going to try to do to get out of them. And it really works with performances in a really interesting way that had me baffled at certain points, but once I realized what they were doing, I found very inventive. In this real life mother-daughter duo, how they kind of eventually express themselves, it worked very well for me. So The House of Sand, as a movie, it's very moving. It takes a little bit of patience and like attention to really lock in on this one, but if you do, I think you'll be rewarded. This is another one I think has been remastered at some point. It's a really nice solid HD transfer. Looks really good, nice colors, deep colors, no major artifacting or anything like that. Everything holds up very well in the original Brazilian with English or English SDH subtitles. You get a new interview with Fernanda Torres, which is about 10 minutes, in which she reflects upon the movie. That's pretty cool. You get an hour-long making of featurette on this movie, and it's 51 minutes long, and that's really cool. And then you get a trailer. So surprising, some new special features here, which I wasn't expecting. But The House of Sand, worth checking out if you if you discovered Fernanda Torres and I'm Still Here, worth checking her out in her younger days. Or if you're already a fan of Fernanda, I don't think I'm going to need to convince you to pick this one up. Next film, we're going over to Cohen Media Group and their release of Unicorns. This is a British movie about a man who is an auto mechanic who goes to the club one day, not realizing he is at a drag club, and he ends up connecting with a woman who he does not realize is a man in drag, and how he kind of starts questioning himself. Like he has kind of a very visceral reaction on the onset of realizing who he has been kissing, but then how their relationship eventually evolves, and you have this guy who is like at home, he's kind of like hiding who he is and what he does, like with the drag shows and everything, and like so each of them are kind of going through their own self-reflection and coming to terms of who they are and what they want out of life, and just seeing them start to kind of grow together, and like a person who's maybe not would traditionally like seeing themselves as someone who would be attracted to a man in drag, and stuff, just like how that eventually evolves. I think it's handled very well, and it's like it's not overly melodramatic. I think it handled, like, there are kind of some like your expected moments of like trying to understand one another, and that can be a little bit awkward and stuff, but overall I think it's very heartening, and I think it's handled very well overall. And there's some dramatic moments that definitely like had me kind of like holding my breath or like gasping, but maybe not for the reasons you would expect. I do think Unicorns is a very solid movie that is respectful to the drag community and the queer community and how it's portrayed. And overall, I did quite enjoy it. There's not much in the way of special features. There's just a trailer, but the audiovisual presentation's rock solid. There's some kind of bolder colors in some of the club lighting that holds up very well. Maybe minor banding here and there, but overall, very solid presentation from Cohen Media Group. So worth checking out if you are interested in a queer story, and that is handled pretty sensitively. Over from Raro Video on Blu-ray, we have the 44 Specialist. This is it's Raro Video's kind of bread and butter are crime films. This is another one in which you have a cop who is going undercover in more of an extremist organization and trying to stop like some pretty crazy stuff from happening. And it's violent. You have like people being put into very dramatic situations, being put to the limit, wondering if they're going to crack underneath this like undercover pressure. There's a lot of stuff going on. You have John Saxon as a U.S. agent in here within this kind of Italian framework. It's always good seeing John Saxon, either domestic or international films, because he works well in both realms, and he's a fun presence in here. Overall, it's nothing that's going to stand out in the crime genre, but I did quite enjoy it. It's just kind of like a action crime film. Both in the original Italian and an English dub option is available. You also get a commentary track. I don't have any specifics in regards to any kind of restoration or anything, but it holds up pretty well. I didn't see any major shortcomings with this, but overall, looks decent. Maybe a little bit noisy at points, but overall everything looks pretty natural, and audio sounds pretty good as well. The Italian audio definitely sounds better than the English dub, but overall, if you like Italian crime films, 44 Specialists is another solid one to add to your collection. Going over to one of my favorite labels, Radiance Films, and their new release of Daiei Gothic Volume 2, their Japanese ghost stories release. Here we have 3 stories. The first, I want to have one qualm with this. So the way that these films are released, it should be, you got Demon of Mount Oe, we have the Haunted Castle, and we have Ghost of Kasane Swamp. So that's how it's released, but then you have it reversed here on the back, which is a little bit weird. So I kind of had to keep double checking on like what, not that any of these films are connected like directly, but I try to watch things in kind of release order if possible. But that's just a minor nitpick. But these are all continuing off of the first Daiei Gothic set, I believe from last year, maybe it's 2 years ago at this point. But that was a really cool set, and this is as well. You have Tales. This one I like quite a bit because you get like some other supernatural stuff, like big spiders and like manifested demons and everything. And this is just like a bunch of like Shogun trying to fight, like get to this demon and all the like things that they discover once they're there. The Haunted Castle is a little bit more straightforward revenge tale about like a guy striking down a blind man in order to like further his own like kind of like bloodline and lifespan and stuff. And it ends up being like a kind of a cat tasked with revenge, and how that kind of manifests is pretty cool. Like it's wild stuff. Not as wild as the cat from a couple of weeks ago, but the way cats are used in Japanese films are always interesting. And then the Ghost of Kasane Swamp, it is also more of kind of like your standard revenge tale, where you have like people who are killed and kind of like dumped into swamps, and how they eventually ghosts come out and get revenge and stuff. So yeah, these are ghost stories, and there's not like a ton of variance between them, but they're all done pretty well. I think the Demon of Mount Oe is probably my favorite of the three, but I like them all. The Haunted Castle, I think it's a nice number 2. Here's the booklet that comes with this. It is nice and thick. So you get tons of essays and writings on these, and like good still reproductions. You get details about the transfers. Overall, Radiance Films, another home run Daiei Gothic release. These have all been given 4K restorations, and these do look really nice. And in the booklet, it does say that Radiance did have a hand in restoring these, and you can tell these look really nice and natural. One of my favorite Radiance releases visually that I've seen. I think pretty much every disc has like interviews and a visual essay. I believe the last film has a select commentary track. So you usually get some kind of combination of interviews, visual essay, or a commentary track. So overall, pretty stacked with special features. You got that cool booklet, and these look and sound amazing. So overall, if you're a fan of Japanese ghost stories, once again, the Daiei Gothic is the place to be from Radiance Films, and it's definitely worth checking out. They've done a really, really good job. If you're a fan of twisted and screwed up cinema, I have a treat for you over from Kino Lorber and their 4K upgrade of Dogtooth from Yorgos Lanthimos, director of The Favorite and Poor Things and The Lobster, the upcoming Begonia, Killing of a Sacred Deer. This is, I believe, his second film, if I'm not mistaken. And this was nominated for Best International Feature. So you got both the Blu-ray and 4K disc in here. And this has been released on Blu-ray previously from Kino Lorber, but this is a new 4K restoration. You get a nice booklet here. Get some cool writing on here. Not a lot of Kino Lorber titles have booklets, but I'm glad whenever they do. So this is a twisted tale of power and abuse, in which the patriarch of a family is keeping everyone like in strict control within the kind of this family compound house, where they have been kind of brought up to like, he teaches them, they're like in certain specific ways where he'll teach them mostly the correct ways, like words and history and everything. But then like sometimes he will kind of arbitrarily in a lesson like say like a one word means something else that it doesn't, and it's just kind of more of a form of control. And like no one is like, they are kind of conditioned to not leave the house. I think they're pretty much afraid of what is out there, even though he kind of leaves the house for work. He kind of has like his own reasonings within the family and stuff. And then he brings like one person in to like one woman into that who is blindfolded on the drive in to come in and have sex with his son, so he can have like that kind of contact and growing up and stuff. But how that eventually kind of evolves is interesting as well. So it's all these like, there's like 3 kids that are all like in their, seems to be 20s or so. And they've all kind of been sheltered and kind of like stunted with this kind of maniacal control from this patriarch. And the matriarch, the mom of the family, also goes along with stuff and kind of helps contain the illusion of this fantasy. And it leads to some really kind of awkward moments between the siblings and them trying to grow up. And there's like incestual vibes and then like beyond vibes. And how this eventually just like this really darkly comedic portrait of control and the lack of free will and everything. It's absurd, but it's kind of brilliant at how Yorgos kind of pulls this off. It's deeply unsettling to watch and think about. But if you aren't super sensitive to certain subject matters, it's very fascinating to think about. And this was my first time watching this. I'd wanted to for a while, and I'd kind of heard how notoriously it was a pretty messed up movie, but I really found it very fascinating. And watching it on 4K, I think was a pretty good treat. You got a 4K restoration in Dolby Vision, and it looks pretty nice. I know encoding for a Kino disc can be a little bit iffy. I didn't notice anything majorly wrong with that. Maybe could have been encoded slightly better, but overall, I think it's a really nice 4K restoration. It's handled pretty well. It's been supervised by Yorgos Lanthimos, and it's been conducted by MK2 overseas in terms of the restoration. So overall, I'm really pretty happy how it looks. You get 2 commentary tracks, you get some interviews, you get some deleted scenes. One of the interviews, I believe, was from like the 2019 New York Film Festival, I believe, or something around that time. So that's pretty cool. So there have been new special features added from the previous Blu-ray. Really, really nice release. If you're Yorgos Lanthimos fan and you haven't seen some of his early work, Dogtooth, worth checking out. It's just as twisted as some, if not more than some of his later work, so worth checking that out for sure. Going over to MBD Entertainment, and they're kind of an anthology comedy with Big Helium Dog from Smodcastle Cinemas, so in collaboration with Kevin Smith, from executive producer Kevin Smith, very prominently displayed. I've been enjoying this new Smodcastle Cinema partnership with MBD Entertainment. These usually don't compare to like my thoughts on like Kevin Smith's movies themselves. Seeing some of his collaborators and what they create, still pretty interesting. This is kind of an anthology movie, and when that it follows like some main characters, but you kind of get vignettes and sketches of different like kind of situations. And it's like this one guy who's like very stupid, and he's going through the world and just kind of experiencing absurd things and kind of getting himself into exaggerated situations. And there's things with a kind of like a devil like man. You got several of the Broken Lizard guys in here. You got future director Lorraine Scafaria, who did like Hustlers. She's a great director and a pretty good actress as well. You got Michael Ian Black and people that you would see from other View Askew universe adjacent movies as well. This is from the director of someone who would go on to direct some of the Minions movies. And seeing him kind of like reference that in some of the bonus features is pretty amusing. The movie itself is a bit of a mixed bag. Definitely a lot of dated humor. They admit as much in some of the special features. But there's a lot to find funny as well. And I think as kind of like an early DIY comedy, definitely worth checking out if you like this brand of like Smodcastle, View Askew universe humor. Worth checking out. I especially like the special features. You get an introduction from Kevin Smith and the director. It runs about 12 minutes long from the Smodcastle Cinemas. And then you see the Q&A afterwards. It runs about like an hour and 10 minutes long. That's a ton of fun. So you got like the director, you got Lorraine Scafaria, you got most of the main performers, producers and stuff. A lot of really interesting stories being told there. You do get auditions and trailers and stuff. So loaded with special features. This has been restored from the original camera negative. It looks pretty nice for a film that was shot so low budget. Never really got that much of a wide release or anything like that. So definitely more on the rare side. So cool to finally get this out in a really nice, loving presentation. And you get 2 commentary tracks as well. Smodcastle Cinemas keeps delivering with their Blu-rays and MVD entertainment. Really happy with this release. Worth checking out for Kevin Smith fans or just a fan of like his Universal stuff, because Kevin Smith is actually in the movie as a character. Like he plays the director of this movie inside the movie. So you get a lot of Kevin Smith on screen as well. So just if you're interested, you get that as well. So Big Helium Dog. This isn't animated. This is just how the cover looks. You can see kind of like some of the live action footage here. But if this draws you in, go for it. Big Helium Dog on Blu-ray. Worth checking out for fans of that kind of crew of comedians. And finally, I have another big box set, another television show. I've had this for a while, but I've been trying to work my way through it as much as possible. From Universal is a complete series of Emergency. This is another huge set of seasons and stuff. We got all 122 episodes and 6 TV movies here. So I'll take you through here. This is kind of like it is a kind of a rescue, like fire, ambulances, all kinds of just like emergency response scenarios. I watch a lot of modern procedurals. I've watched all the Chicago fires and stuff like that. So seeing something kind of as advanced as that, and then going back to kind of the original Emergency, they're definitely it's interesting to see how kind of grounded a lot of these scenarios were, and just I respect how that this is kind of more as with most really great procedurals, getting to know the characters and getting to really connect with them. These might not be the most thrilling rescues and stuff by modern standards, but there's definitely a lot of thrills and stuff to be had, and you get to know these characters, and there's some funny moments and all kinds of stuff going on. So maybe not as fast paced as a lot of modern procedurals, but worth checking out all the same. So as I skipped around these seasons and got to know some of these characters more and stuff, the more I like the show. I look forward to continuing going through all these seasons and movies and stuff. But what I can tell is it's a very consistently solid show, and it looks really great on Blu-ray. So it at some point has been remastered. It looks really good. I'm not very familiar with this show. I did not have it on DVD or anything. But from what I can tell, it's been handled with care. I didn't notice any major blemishes. It has lossless audio, DTS 2.0 audio, and just no major shortcomings from what I can tell. I don't think there are any split syndicated episodes or anything like that. Everything seems intact. If I know otherwise, or if you know otherwise, please leave a comment. But it does look pretty complete and solid. You have an Adam 12 crossover episodes, I believe in the 5th season or so. That is included as a special feature in, it's not been remastered, but it is included just for posterity's sake. Hopefully Adam 12 will eventually get remastered and put on Blu-ray as well. And you get all the TV movies and stuff. So this should be all you need for emergency fans. And yeah, really nice release. No stacked disc, all in Blu-ray cases. I really can't ask for more from Universal. They've been killing it on their physical media releases. This is a show that I saw like on Walmart shelves all the time growing up on DVD, and it just never like compelled me to go get it. But now that it was put on Blu-ray and they support it like that, I want to support this on Blu-ray. So if you're a fan of Emergency, I had fun discovering it. I think you'll have fun watching it on Blu-ray. It's a really nice release of Emergency. So check that out if you are interested in a solid old school procedural. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And that is my show. A lot of great stuff, especially for television watchers on this one. If you found something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments what you're going to pick up or what you already have in your collection. I'm always excited to learn about that. Let me know what you want me to talk about on a future show. Always happy to do that as well. Share this with anyone that you know loves physical media, or you want to get them into physical media with like maybe a specific release that you know they'd like. I always like new people coming to the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to Geek Vibes Nation's YouTube channel. I really appreciate this. I do this every week. I'm always excited to do it. I will be back again next week with a whole new slate of titles. But until next time, enjoy these movies.